So we are recording, and then I'm about to share it to live on Facebook. We are going live. And we are live. Good morning, everyone. My name is Antonio Downing, and I'm the first Vice President of the Anne Arundel County branch of the NAACP. And I also serve as the Economic Empowerment Co-Chair as well. I would like to welcome those of you that have tuned in via Zoom and Facebook Live to participate in today's webinar that's entitled Money Keys to Freedom. This morning's webinar is being presented by the Anne Arundel County NAACP Economic Empowerment Committee, in which our co-chair, Ms. CJ Mushaw, is the lead organizer of today's event. At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator for this morning's session, Ms. Vanessa Bright. Vanessa is not only a member of our local branch, but she is also the executive director of the Maryland Reentry Resource Center. Vanessa is an experienced speaker, organizer, and educator who has spent years teaching leadership and finance to individuals and organizations. From her own natural lip and skincare line as a social enterprise, which is Behaving LLC, and to establishing the Maryland Reentry Resource Center for the empowerment of inmates and the formerly incarcerated. Vanessa's inspiration has always been focused on upholding human dignity and setting goals that help individuals and organizations to removing the social and financial barriers to success. Before we get started, I just want to let everyone know that during the time that our guest speaker will be presenting this morning, we would encourage all of our audience members to post questions and comments. And so today's session will be a little bit of an interactive information session. So again, welcome, and I hope that you will get a lot out of today's session. So over to you, Vanessa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Antonio. Good morning, everyone. Financial literacy, financial education, financial empowerment is always a very important topic, but the committee really felt that during this time of COVID and the large financial and economic impact it has had on us as individuals and had on us as organizations, we thought this topic was even more timely. So we reached out to Ms. Shay Cook. I know Shay from just being in the field. We really met when we were both volunteering to do financial literacy counseling sessions at the National Harbor some years ago. So I'm privileged to be able to present her, and I'll start with a little background. Ms. Shay Cook is the Chief Executive Officer and founders of Crusaders for Change, LLC. In addition to devoting herself to several civic service positions, being an active member of her local community and raising an impressive daughter with her husband, who's retired from the Air Force, Shay somehow found time to start her own company, Crusaders for Change. On May 5th, 2016, Crusaders for Change is focused on empowering and equipping the broader community with tools they need to become financially free through counseling, coaching, and classes. She is a certified accredited financial counselor and financial fitness coach. She also has a bachelor and a master's in psychology. She lives in Odenton with her husband, an English bulldog, and their daughter attends UMBC. I will now present to you Ms. Shay Cook.
Thank you, Vanessa. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to share my screen and get started. All right, well, thank you for the introduction again, Vanessa, and thank you to the Anne Arundel County NAACP for inviting me, especially CJ and Antonio. I'm always excited about the opportunity. Uh-oh, I went the wrong slide here, 1 second. There we go. All right. I'm always excited about any opportunity to provide knowledge and to our community about personal finances. Today, I will be presenting on the following items: a brief introduction, a little bit more about me, share some statistics that inspire me, introduce the business, and then go more into the money keys, as I call it, which stands for manage, opportunity, necessity, experience, and you during the money keys section. I will be asking a lot of questions, and we will engage in an exercise that I hope you all can participate via chat. So again, a little bit more about me. I always say there are 4 areas that really influenced me to be who I am today. So starting with my spirit, when we lived in Turkey, when my husband was in the Air Force in 2006, my spirit really spoke to me and told me that I had to help the people in the area of financial, in their area of finances. But like many of us, I was disobedient and I didn't listen right away. And more on that in a minute. So then in my family, as a child, I always loved to play school and teach my siblings or play store and use the cash register. I loved math and accounting. One time when we were stationed in Alaska, my dad was Army, I took my parents' checkbook and to school and wrote all of the classmates' checks. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. I can't even believe it to this day. And of course, I got in a lot of trouble for that when my parents found out about it, but I just later on will connect that dot. And then with my education, another big influence on me, I started at UMBC many years ago with a major in computer engineering, but then I changed it to political science. And that was during the time of the Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton scandal. So I was like, no, I can't deal with this. They were talking about that too much in class. So finally, I moved over into psychology, and I ultimately achieved, as Vanessa said, a bachelor's and a master's in psychology. And I really wanted to be a psychologist, but later realized that understanding human behavior would be very helpful in helping people with their finances. And then lastly, with my career, I worked in administration, fast food, retail, telemarketing, childcare, and for 2 credit unions. But shortly after my spirit spoke to me in 2006, I received my first federal job with the Air Force. I would later attain my accredited financial counselor certification, and then I get a job with the Army after moving from Turkey to Maryland, and then obtain the job with the Coast Guard, starting the Personal Financial Readiness Program after being laid off by the Army. And I obtained my financial fitness coaching certification just last year. So although I started Crusaders for Change in 2016 and I left my full-time job, federal job, to run the business in July of 2018. So later I would connect the dots and realize that all of my jobs, education, experiences were pertinent to my purpose of helping people with their finances through the business. And I guess I wasn't that bit disobedient after all, or God just made sure I would continue moving my purpose. So more about me and on website there. So some of my why, or some of the statistics that inspired me, like these and many others, plus all of the real life scenarios I'm privy to through financial counseling and coaching and why I do what I do, these statistics really stuck out to me. So personal finances are a cause of anxiety and stress, especially for African and Black Americans. This is so true when I'm helping clients and different people throughout their journey in finances, just trying to meet that financial freedom. They're really fearful of their situations and really stresses them out. And the next half of Americans do not have an emergency fund. 40% of Americans could not even cover a $400 emergency. And this is even worse for African Americans. 22% of African Americans versus 45% of white Americans can come up with $2,000 in 30 days of an emergency. So this, I know a lot of people are struggling, especially during COVID. This really hit them hard. They weren't, prepared to meet these emergencies. So like we had a stimulus that came through, but again, people were really struggling. And then Americans are in debt. We all know this, right? Nearly 8 in 10 Americans have some kind of debt, and 37% feel like they have too much debt. And then this is very interesting lately. This new one came out in 2018 through the National Financial Capability Study that college debt remorse. Those with student loans, nearly half wish they had chosen less expensive college. And I know, I don't feel like I've chosen less expensive college, but I know I had $65,000 worth of student loan debt that I was able to pay off in 4 years through a lot of hard work and sacrifice. But I know I wish I hadn't taken out all those refunds and so forth with student loans. So I know a lot of us have been there, but a lot of people have a remorse about their college debt. So just a brief introduction, and then we'll get into the money keys of the business. I call it Crusaders for Change, and it goes by C4C. And really the vision is personal financial freedom for all. And Vanessa already shared the vision, a mission. So the services include counseling, coaching, consulting, and classes in the area people pray, work, and play. So we help religious institutions, small businesses, and like community centers and stuff, providing those services. And the goals is really to change behavior, get out of debt, improve credit, and meet financial goals. So when you get a chance, please check out C4C's blogs and videos. There's the links there, and I'll also share it later. And this little character here is Sandy Change. We got a lot of cool videos with her. So getting into the money keys. So I hope everybody will participate either on Facebook or through Zoom, through the chat. I'll be asking questions throughout this. So I came up with this many years ago, just from where I'm helping clients, you know, help them achieve their goals. I noticed there was a trend going on, and it really fit really well in the money, and it's an acronym. So first, starting with manage. One key to financial freedom is knowing how to manage your money properly. This can be completed by knowing your net worth, following a spend plan. I meet so many people who don't know how much money they have coming in or how much money is going out. And in order to reach some sense of freedom in your finances, you need to know your numbers. You need to know how much money is actually coming in and out. So I'm going to stop here and ask a quick question. How do you manage your money? If you can put in the chat or in Facebook, Miss CJ and Miss Vanessa will monitor that and let me know. But again, how do you manage your money? Do you use an online service or an app like Mint? Or do you use an Excel, numbers, Google Sheet, spreadsheet? You get any responses yet? Well, they come in, and hopefully they come in through Facebook or even Zoom.
We have a response from Ms. Deborah Wood. Hope to catch a tip or two today for money management. Also want to have a good intro to Ms. Shay Cook, since she's going to do a Zoom workshop for the upcoming NEA Big Read Anne Arundel County. Also, Vanessa Bright shared that she uses Google Calendar and a spreadsheet.
Okay, awesome. So again, a lot of clients, a lot of people I've met over the years, either, you know, working with the military or volunteering or through the business. A lot of people are not managing their funds there. They have no clue. They might look at their bank account once a day just to make sure they have some money in there, but they, you know, and now, thank God, a lot of the institutions have these budgeting tools, and they have, you know, trends and let you know where your money's going through categories. So a lot of people can see where their money's going, but it's important to take that first step, or at least, you know, work with yourself or your family or your couple to work together and manage your funds by some kind of numbers worksheet or spreadsheet, Excel, so forth. So another thing, opportunity. So there are so many opportunities for making and saving more money. Especially in today's world right now, a lot of people unfortunately are laid off or furloughed still. There's a lot of job loss out there. And there's other ways to monetize, you know, side hustles and or multiple streams of income. That's very important. And everybody, you know, in order to build wealth, which is again a key goal here, is to monetize your side hustles. I mean, like Vanessa has Behaving, which is amazing. And And I've tried to do different things as well over the years. So another question is, outside of your full-time priority job or business, what other ways do you make money? So while we're waiting on those responses, I'll add any opportunity to save money, cutting back on unnecessary expenses, majority of the time, which is important. So majority of the time, there's something you can cut back on and use to pay another bill, save, put towards another financial goal like vacation, fun item. I see a lot of people struggling with their food bill each month, and especially during COVID, but actually before COVID, a lot of people were struggling with that expense. They were spending way over budget, eating out or just buying a lot of food wherever they're, if they're going out and partying or whatever they're doing pre-COVID. And now even during COVID, obviously we were at home, so we were eating a lot more. So that's definitely a big bill that people struggle with. And also paying yourself first is so important. People often pay their bills and other people instead of saving for their own goals in future. So it's important that you pay yourself as well. So anybody answer that question, CJ?
Yeah, we have someone who teaches childcare professionals and provides counseling for parents and children. We also have another participant who teaches as an adjunct and who's participated in Lyft and Uber or taken on short-term projects.
Thank you, that's great. So then, I have a lot of friends and family that have a lot of different side hustles, and a couple of my old colleagues back from the Army days, they're adjunct professors, make good money from that. I was talking to another client, or actually a business network partner last week, and she said, people were making like $2,400 extra a month through DoorDash. And, the people working from home, they're able to, travel or DoorDash during the day and during lunch and at night. So there's some really great opportunities. And I think we need to understand it's great to have that priority business or that full-time business or job. But, in order to build wealth and to make more money and to be able to save for our goals, we should have other opportunities as well. So we're going to also do another exercise here. So I call this the $500 exercise. So when I used to do this in person, I would give everybody $500. And you can see it there. This is not real money. It looks really real. I wish it was. I have a lot of this. Got about 10,000 of this fake money here. If you can see it, there it is. And I would get everybody to $500 and just ask them, if I handed you just $500 cash today, what would you do with it? So if you guys can put it in a chat on Facebook or in Zoom, what would you do with that $500? Would you pay a bill? Would you go on a vacation? Even though I know $500 doesn't go too far with a vacation, but you might be able to get something nice. What would you do with that? You get any responses, CJ?
Yes, folks will put it in the bank and save for a rainy day, or save 10%, pay down debt with a balance, and spend 10%, or put it in their piggy bank for emergencies, or a splurge for something they want but don't need.
Awesome. What would you do with the money, CJ?
Right now, I would put it towards credit card debt.
Okay. How about you, Vanessa? You're on mute.
We have a live feed watcher that says they would put it directly towards bills.
Okay. Still can't hear you, Vanessa. Can somebody unmute her?
Thanks, CJ. So I would tie 10%, save 10%, and pay down debt with the balance.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's a common response in the years I've been doing this exercise. A lot of people are, if they're religious, Christian, or whatever, any other religious background, they'll usually put it towards some kind of community tithing or something like that. And then they'll spend it on bills, credit card debt, somebody even said they would pay, like some will put it towards the next month's rent or mortgage. It would be great to hear, what fun items we could do with this or purchase with it. But I know a lot of people, they want to pay down their debt, which is very important. We want to get out of debt. That's part of being financially free. But I try to inspire people, to at least spend 10%, $100 or $50 of this doing something fun. Because I know a lot of people just don't think about that, or they overspend on the fund and they don't pay their bills. So it depends on who you're talking to. But why am I asking this? This exercise really helps people understand what is important to them or what is financial goals they're trying to reach. So as a financial coach, we're taught to find out what people value in their money. And when I do this I understand, is it your church that's important, or your religious institution, your community? Is it paying off your debt? Is it saving for emergencies? So helping them really organize those goals and figure out how they want to proceed really helps. And then also just trying to encourage them, again, what fun thing you want to do? What is your, in 1 year, what will $500 help you? If you wanted to buy a pair of shoes, or you just want to go for a spa day, or back in the day when we can go to the movies, I know they're starting up now, you want to take your family to the movies, you want to go to Six Flags. I mean, the list goes on in this area and out. So it's very important to consider that.
Debbie Wood in the chat mentioned that she would do some RV traveling.
There you go. See, that's some fun things to do. And I mean, a lot of people right now are trying to find ways, we can't really we can go on the planes, but a lot of people are staying away from that. So a lot of people are taking RVs out, they're going camping, they're going on nature walks. And especially right now, there are maybe not a lot of festivals going on, but there's, the pumpkin patches and stuff like that. How would you spend this money with your family? And again, that really helps me. And when I'm helping people, or just sharing that information, like find out what's important to you. If I gave you $500 a cash day, what would you do with it? That will help you prioritize and find out what your values are. All right, so the next item is necessity. So your end goal money is a necessary tool, but not the end goal. Your end goal shouldn't be money, but what you want to accomplish with it. Many people get caught up with the idea of getting it, saving it, spending it, gambling it, but it's best to focus on how it can help you and others meet a personal or professional, serious or fun goal. So again, tying back into the exercise we just did and the opportunities of saving and making more money. A lot of people get caught up in, I got to get the money, Okay, you get the money, what are you going to do with it? And we need to understand it's a tool. So another question is, what are some fun goals, which somebody already shared, like going on an RV. What are some fun goals you would like to save for, or fun items, experiences you would like to pay for if you had some extra money? I know personally, if I had $500, honestly, I don't know what I would do with it. I think it's probably time to go get some clothes. I haven't bought clothes in forever. And in the COVID world, I've been wearing the same thing, my uniform top and stuff, but it would be cool to do that. I haven't been to the spa in ages. And me personally, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't feel comfortable. I know some people are feeling comfortable going back and getting a massage, but it would be nice to get a massage.
I agree with that, Shay.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, I want to buy an RV like that because I don't like hotels too much pre-COVID, so I really don't.
I was the same way. I wasn't a big fan of hotels, especially.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wouldn't say it's because of my OCD-ish, but I don't like the beds. I like to be in my own bed.
Yeah, me too. I'm a germaphobe,
Yeah,
so I'll say it is.
That's the word I was looking for. I'll bring my own pillowcase, blanket. Yeah. So it would be nice to have an RV, or one day, I would put this $500 maybe, or a piece of it, start saving for a house in the Caribbean. I want a house in the Caribbean. So my own house that I go to has my own bed.
Yeah, exactly.
So, CJ, any responses?
We kind of hit the nail on the head with the previous question. Folks just naturally flowed into those, the fun things once you gave them permission to think about that.
Okay.
I think I'd be a little similar, but I might go towards a movable tiny house.
Oh, yeah. A movable tiny house. Cool. How about Deborah? Is she on? Let's see her on Zoom.
Well, she already bought the RV, so Debbie.
She just wants to go. Oh, okay.
She started the RV conversation.
Yeah, she's a step ahead of us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm glad people are moving that direction, because a lot of times when we're talking about the managing the money and opportunity and then get the necessity with the fund goal, a lot of people are like, okay, I gotta pay these bills, I gotta pay these bills, I gotta pay these bills, I got credit cards, I got student loan debt, and I got my car loan, I might have to buy another car, but and I just want to give permission to people, in order to start feeling like you're free. It shouldn't all be about debt. It shouldn't all be about that stuff that, which we need. There's healthy debt, according on who you're talking to and what expert. Some people say you don't need no debt, but unfortunately in America, it's hard not to have any debt. And if you have that privilege, that's amazing. But a lot of majority of us, especially African Americans, have debt. We need to be able to manage it, but ultimately we want to pay it off. But we also should be thinking about the fun things we want to do with it. So
Ms. Debbie Wood shared that she's daydreaming about places to visit with the grandkids. And online we have someone who is dreaming about motorcycle accessories.
Yeah, I have actually. I motorcycle. Me and my husband both have sport bikes, believe it or not. So we haven't really drove them in the last couple of years, but because of different medical issues. But yeah, the motorcycle thing is pretty awesome. That is freeing when you get on a motorcycle, and be safe. Obviously, it's a very freeing experience, but it is very expensive. Very expensive hobby. I know I had some colleagues or business professionals that I know that are into horseback riding. So I know that is expensive, but that's the fun times of life. And if you save for it, you can do it. So there's nothing wrong with that. And we shouldn't have any shame about that. So speaking of experience, your experience with money can determine your future. So just because you started off with a negative money experience doesn't mean you can't change that into something positive. We have to change our mindset about money. Don't get stuck into a negative money experience. This is where I spend the majority of my time with clients, trying to break this bad money or a bad money experience mindset and or belief, which takes time. I know as a child, just seeing how your parents deal with money, it can really affect you later on in life. So thank God, and I think that's what God was doing for me when he had me get 2 degrees in psychology. I'm not licensed, but at least be able to help people understand why they have that and try to break those bad beliefs, turn it into a positive one. So I'm going to spend some time here because I think this is where a lot of people are affected with how they either achieve financial freedom or not. They build wealth or not. They build a legacy or not. I think the experience is a big holdup. The mindset is a big holdup. So my question here is, anyone want to share a quick negative money experience and how they overcame it? So as people are typing that in Zoom or Facebook Live, I'll share one. I know when I was in college, they don't do it much here. There's laws against this. I remember I went to UMBC and in the late 90s, and I think I got about 10 credit cards. A lot of people go through this that have been through this. Luckily, my mom was, back then tore up a lot of them and canceled a lot of them for me, but I kept a few. And I was into clubbing back in the day. DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So I was wilding out like crazy. And I was spending that credit card up, buying clothes, paying for experiences throughout the DMV. And I ended up having a lot of debt when I went into a marriage with my husband. Honestly, looking in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't that much, but it was significant I was 19 when I got married, 19, 20 when I got married. So I was young. But I had a lot of credit card debt. And then obviously I was racking up the student loans at the same time. So I'm really taught about that, how to save and debt as a child. So I remember one day just was like, oh, this is ridiculous. I had a credit card, I didn't pay it on time. So my credit score started being affected. Really didn't know much at that time about credit scores, but I knew that, in order to get a car and a house later in life, I was going to need a better credit score. So I sat down and read through all my credit card statements like a little nerd, but it really helped me understand like the process of debt or the credit score. I'm not, excuse me, the credit interest rate. Understand how they really charge you. And I just made up my mind back then. And once I pay off my credit cards, I am not going to be paying anybody any interest. So I just felt like that was ridiculous. That interest should be going towards me. So I learned, that was a self-taught situation. But through many years of also therapy for other family related issues, that helped me free up the mindset that I need to let go of some things and really be positive about my money experience. So anybody share anything, CJ?
I can share one of mine.
Please.
I remember growing up, there was always a lot of anxiety around money. I was a single parent home, and mom had a lot of jobs, a lot of side gigs to make things work. And probably that was what got her through a lot of emotional troubles, was just focusing on that, ride or die and get the money. That's what we need to survive. And so I know that informed my experience with it. And then later on, as a strange result, I would find myself in a lot of odd situations where I would be giving my money to people and not taking care of my own needs first. So it was like a weird flipping of the situation, I guess.
Wow. So what did you learn ultimately from your mom to use just to take care of yourself, be responsible?
Well, I had to do some therapy, like you said, to get back to the middle. I was like so giving of my own money as a result of her being so anxious and like working so hard to take care of the two of us first. So I had to like circle back from giving away all my money to learning how to take care of myself first. And it took therapy.
Yeah. So you went from one stream from your mom to the other. So
Yep.
yeah. And
I'll share experience, Shay.
Yes.
So I grew up pretty comfortably. I had parents, the parents that, as most parents, they don't want their children to, they want their children to do better than them. My father grew up poor, but he and my mom were pretty successful together as a team and had a business. So, but they didn't really teach us about money, and they were always there to like save us. So when I didn't have to pay any money for my college, and my father would send me money, and I would just spend it frivolously and be waiting on some more money because I didn't really have to worry about. Whereas my roommate, she worked and she made better financial decisions. So just having that, my parents were always a fallback. So when I charged up stuff on a credit card, my dad paid it off after I graduated. So it didn't really teach me. I had to figure that out finally. And I remember I sent him a credit card that he gave me back for Father's Day. That was my becoming an independent, person that I gotta, learn how to do this on my own. So I hope parents now are teaching their kids. I teach my son differently. It's not like, the sky's the limit. Oh no, you can't afford, more of that sort of teaching. And I'm not saying my parents were the Rockefellers or anything, but I'm just saying they didn't really necessarily teach the things that they knew, because I know they struggled, but they just didn't let us see it. So I didn't know about it. So, I think I had a false sense of reality.
And security as well.
Yeah, and security.
Wow. Antonio, did you want to share anything? I was like, oh, we forgot about Antonio. Is he there?
Just similar to what you mentioned about acquiring credit card debt in college. It took me a couple years to kind of get myself out of credit card disaster, so to speak. Because when I was growing up, my folks, they didn't have credit cards. So when I was introduced to it, I couldn't really manage them properly. I wasn't going out and splurging or anything. It's just, at the time when I first got out of school and trying to manage my bills and also just trying to live day to day, I didn't really set a budget for myself. So it just took me some time once I got the credit card debt down to a manageable level I was able to kind of be a little bit more responsible with my credit card spending.
Thank you for sharing. So what is everybody teaching their kids now if they have them? I know Vanessa kind of mentioned she does a little different, but I know for me, I mean, I've had my daughter part of my money decisions, you know, like even if it's just going to the grocery store when she was like 5 until about, you know, till she got to a teenager, didn't want to go with me anymore. I was just like, you know, you're going to calculate everything we're buying in the store, and you got this budget, you got to make sure we stay under this budget, you know, or, you know, and I had a credit card, or we would go to an ATM. I made sure she go with me and explain to her, this is ATM, this is what a credit card does, you know. So I was always like teaching her every time we were going on an outing. So she's blessed like Vanessa was, you know, she's not going to have hardly any student loan debt because my husband and I can afford to pay for her college outright. But, you know, I have to tell her, I remind her probably way too often, like, you know, we're paying more for your college than we are for our home. So she's like, really? I'm like, yeah, your college bill is more than my mortgage. But, you know, but I just want you to understand that, you know, that's why you have responsibility as well. And this ain't just a free ride. You're going to have to meet some things and do some things, and you're going to have to get a job and all this kind of stuff. So I'm just trying to make sure she's a part of, be a good role model to her and understand, so she has a positive money experience, so she can have that balance like CJ was talking about. So did anybody chime in on Facebook, CJ?
No, I think we were extra brave. We kind of set the standard a little high with our shares. It's amazing to me to reflect on how emotional and psychological our relationship to money is just after hearing what everybody shared. And exactly like you said earlier in the webinar, your principal experiences growing up really dictates your relationship to money later on. Wow, that was a big eye opener today.
And Shay, it took me so long to figure out what I wanted to be when I grow up, which, you know, that plays a big part into your finances if you're bouncing around trying to figure out what you want to do. So as a parent, I try to encourage my son to explore his interests at a younger age when he doesn't have the responsibility, because I kind of waited till I had the responsibility to explore those things. Like, you know, I had bought a new house, had a young child, and decided, oh, I'm going to open an all-state insurance agency. Well, I really thought about doing something like that, you know, earlier. But, you know, the younger you are and less responsibility to try those types of things, that's what I encourage, like my child. And if I'm speaking to, you know, other young people, to try those things a little earlier before the responsibility sets in.
That's good advice. My husband says that too. While we still have a little of a safety around her right now, even though she's living at campus, but you know, she comes home still, she still is not out in the world fully independent. Try to, you know, like he says, mess up now, you know,
Exactly.
now,
exactly.
Still have us as your safety net. And then when you finally get out there, then, you know, you'll have kind of figured out. I mean, you're still going to have some room to grow, obviously, but yeah, that's good advice. Antonio or CJ, you have kids? What do you share with your kids?
My daughter, well, she's 8, so she doesn't quite get it yet, but, you know, we'll have that conversation soon. Try to make sure we manage her expectation. But, you know, we'll get into the money responsibility in the next couple years for her.
Yeah, exactly. That's good. And that's a good, expectations is huge too. I know when I'm talking to clients, a lot of them, you know, their expectations are either really high or really low. They're, you know, and also not even expectations, their goals. I'm noticing, and I'm sure I'm sure it's not everybody, but Generation Zers and millennials that I'm helping, they just cannot see past today or even just maybe the next week or two. So they're living for the now, you know, fear of missing out, the whole FOMO, all the different things out there. They're just like, okay, I ain't thinking about a year or 2 or 5 years from now, you know, and I have to really and one of my clients last week said that. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, do you have any goals past tomorrow? I ain't never thought about that. I'm like, okay, well, we need to work on that, because it's important to, you know, to forecast and think past today when you're talking about money or any goals really. But when it comes to money, helping people get past that. That experience that they had as a child, or just right now as they're finding out with the kids of today, living through a lot of trauma, and past, even before
Yeah.
COVID and all the stuff. A lot of these people came in through with 9/11 and all this other things that happened, the recession and so forth. These kids have been living through a lot of trauma. So they're like, okay, we're just living for today. So that experience really affects them moving forward with planning when it comes to money. So just helping people get through all that, open their mind is really important, but setting realistic expectations is really important. So CJ, any more comments before I move on?
Nope, you're good to go.
All right. So the last money key is you. I could talk about this for ages, but I'm not, but financial freedom really starts with you, with the person. You and only you can make the choice on how you really view money and what it can do for your life. It takes self-control, discipline, change behaviors, and time to accomplish all of this. But you must take the first step in order to reach the goal of financial freedom. Through managing your money appropriately, seeking opportunities to save and make money, understand money is a necessity, but not the end goal, and changing and or working through your negative experiences, you can become financially free. So I know, again, some of the older clients I have are around my age. They are really looking to build wealth. They're really looking at legacy. As we know, Black Americans, African Americans, the economic gap, is huge between our, the white Americans and so Asian Americans, and just really trying to get to a place that we feel free takes us closing that gap, saving money, meeting financial goals, and just really thinking about the freedom is so important. So anybody have any questions at this point? I had a couple more things there, but I'm going to go to the next slide.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So the folks that that are currently my clients, like Maryland Reentry, I have people that they don't have bank accounts. So like I'm having to cash app them for their pressure washing jobs because they don't have bank accounts, or they have a spotty history with banks. They might not be able to have bank accounts. Their issues are a little different than the people we've been talking about. So just any quick tips or suggestions. My plan is to have them, of course, counsel with you, but any tips, when we're starting with them, as case managers, that any things you would, suggest that we start trying to do with them now, even before we have them meet with you.
Well, since you mentioned bank accounts, is the plan to open a bank account, or they're just going to say, because I know I'm meeting a lot of young people too that don't have bank accounts. They're just, just cash apping as well. So
yeah, well, that would be my plan to get them to open bank accounts.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think the first step is to open a bank account, but just really again, I would talk to them about their values and their financial goals and see where they're trying to head and see what kind of income they have. So they're coming out and you're helping them get employment, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I would start it with the true basics of just like, okay, so what's the goal here? Do you have any? And if not, let's talk through and see what's important. Are you trying to, I know, are they living with family? Are they trying to get a house? Are they putting them in housing, and how much of that are they going to have to pay for? Let's talk about the necessities with food and shelter and clothing. How are we going to meet just those basic goals? And then what's your aspirations? So let's sit there and have a conversation about what are you trying to achieve? You got out, you achieved that goal. So what's moving forward? What's the next step? So I would help them bridge, go through the steps and try to figure that out. And then provide them whatever resources, that are out there, which there are some. Obviously that's what your company or organization is there to help them with those kind of resources as well. But yeah, definitely that. Because I think a lot of people they just don't know the basics, and or they just can't think ahead to the future. And I think that's really important, especially for our community. They're just thinking about today, which is great. I think we should live in a now, but and the word teaches that, but don't worry about tomorrow, but we need to plan for tomorrow. And I think people forget about planning for tomorrow. So.
And leveraging the relationships that, especially this branch, the Anne Arundel County NAACP branch, has with the regional Black-owned banks. You know, a lot of the Black-owned banks specialize in working with folks that don't have the, you know, dominant cultural resources. I think that Industrial Bank in DC is even officially categorized as a community development bank. So that means they really do focus in on supportive banking instead of just traditional banking. And Harbor Bank, they focus a lot on incubating businesses, but they also are very aware of the struggles that folks are dealing with.
Yeah, and that's a huge gap to the business route, because obviously, you know, and to build wealth, a lot of the most rich people in America and the world, they have some kind of businesses or multiple businesses and multiple streams of income. So that's really important to bridge that gap with us, Black Americans, African Americans, for us to find those, you know, open those businesses and stuff. So I think you're right, CJ, working with those banks, credit unions, through the CFDI or through, you know, the Black-owned business banks is important. It's also important for just a regular consumer to just deposit in those banks. You know, we don't have to just, you know, invest through the, you know, ask them for investments and stuff. We need to be depositing in those institutions as well. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I decided to do a split because I couldn't decide which one to go with. So I did checking with Harbor Bank and savings with Industrial Bank.
awesome.
Debbie Wood shared in the chat, they wonder if some employers understand the role they could play in setting up checking accounts and automatic savings plan for new employees.
Yeah, and you're right. Actually, I have a contract with FINRA Foundation, Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, and they have a workplace wellness program, but also, I'm going to get it wrong, but there's like this not paycheck program, financial wellness. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on it. But they are working with organizations and business, workplaces, corporations to set those kind of you know, programs up, financial wellness programs for employees to provide not only the financial literacy, but also help them open accounts, make sure a lot of jobs these days, you got to have an account, to be honest, and then help them have some kind of automatic savings. So, but I always try to tell people, even if your job doesn't have that, you can do that yourself. You know, your bank, your credit union, your financial institution can help you do, or you can set that up automatically online to have them pull once your paycheck come in, you know, transfer to different savings. So it's out of sight, out of mind. And that goes back to the whole paying yourself first as well. So.
Yeah, when I was teaching at the women's prison, TD Bank allowed me to set the inmates up with accounts through them. And I talked to a couple of different banks. They were the ones that jumped on it. They allowed me to take the applications in there, and then everything else was done through the mail. So, you know, that was another bank that was very helpful.
That's good. Yeah, because I know you usually have to run them through check systems and all of that, but I'm sure they figured out.
And they can only open a savings account.
Savings account.
They're prohibited from a checking account, but at least that got them started.
Yeah, at least they get them started, and at least you can get an ATM card or something.
Right.
So, and now everybody, again, they're using Cash App, Venmo, you know, and all these other different electronic, what's the other ones? Venmo, and then.
Well, Zelle, but that's your bank.
You got to have
it. Bank. I don't think you do that outside the bank.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So a lot of people are using that. I know my daughter, she has a bank account, but she's been using PayPal to run her little business she started. So there's all different opportunities out there.
Hey, Shay, had a quick question. What is your opinion on folks that, let's say if they do have a 401k, let's say if they get into a situation where they would need to borrow from it, what is your kind of opinion on that, just to borrow temporarily to kind of get themselves out of a jam?
Well, I want to start off, I am a financial counselor and a coach. I'm not a financial advisor or CFP, a certified financial planner. So I cannot advise anybody what to do, but I can educate them. I always say, I don't know if Vanessa as a financial counselor would agree. Usually that is a very, very, very last resort. You don't want to stop your retirement or use your retirement money. I know people do. And I know actually I have a lot of clients that have used their 401k, TSP through a savings plan because they work for the military or federal government. use the loan program to buy houses, to pay off debt, pay for a funeral. So some people do that, but I always, let's find another avenue to meet that financial goal, pay off the debt, attend to that emergency before we use a 401k. I mean, it's obviously there, you can use it, but I just don't want them to set them up for delaying their retirement by using that. So, some employers do offer great, again, loans, low interest, and you pay yourself back by continuing to make your contribution. But I always say that's a very, very last resort. And I feel the same way about bankruptcy. That's a very, 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 very last resort.
And I agree on both of those. And I tell people all the time, bankruptcy is not the panacea, because people tend to think it's like, that's going to solve all your problems. And it doesn't. It creates a whole bunch of, new problems. So
Exactly.
I agree.
But again,
if they were doing, when I'm talking to folks, I'm saying, have your emergency fund.
Exactly.
So then you won't have to resort to the 401k loan. So.
And it falls back with the opportunity of just, saving money and making more money. Save, again, that's one of the many financial goals. That's one of the first financial goals I help people meet, is that emergency savings. So
yeah.
It up, and that's, I have that in my notes. I didn't bring it up, but it's meeting that goal. And before it was 3 to 6, 9 months. I'm telling people as much as you can save.
Exactly.
With this day, because I've been laid off before. Me and my husband had to work. I've been a military spouse. We've been down to one income several times. So, but there's always many different reasons. And now with COVID and everything, people were clearing out their savings by the end of March. So, it's important that you save as much as possible for an emergency savings, and something that's can be liquidated quickly, savings account and money market. Some people do CDs, whatever version you want to put it in, but you need to have an emergency savings of 3, 6, 9, 12 months is what I say now, of expenses. So yeah, it's very important. So you won't have to take from that 401k. If your car breaks down, which I just had a $1,000 emergency with my car right as we were in the quarantine. I had to go to Montgomery County. My car was acting up and I had to get a tow truck. It cost me $1,000 between the, I had insurance, but in a long story. But either way, I had to come out of my pocket $1,000. So luckily I had a savings, but that could have been a pain if I didn't. So.
And if we could just teach our kids that, because I think of, the money, if I had just been saving some of that money I had in college, I would have come out in such a stronger position when I got my first job. Because when I moved here from Georgia was so much less expensive than the Maryland area. So it was like shock. I couldn't afford an apartment and a car. I had to choose, and I ended up staying with my sister and just paying her a little for rent. But if I had saved just something while I was a young person, so I kind of have forced it upon my son. Well, so much of your allowance is going to savings, so much is going to tithing, and then you have your spending money. So I'm teaching that lesson,
I was one of those weird
early
kids that when I was little, you would think I was going to be a financial genius. I would put my little house chores money into envelopes, and I had like 10 different envelopes. I even had a Christmas gift envelope. But then when I got older, it became so hard to save until I finally did that automatic deposit from your checking to your savings. Mm-hmm. That was the only way that I was able to actually create an emergency fund, by taking it out of my own willpower and just having it happen automatically. And that makes me realize even more how hard it would be for someone without an account or who doesn't have access to the banking system to save money. But getting back to credit, we had a couple of questions that I missed earlier. And Michael Downs in the live feed mentioned that some banks will reduce or cancel your credit cards if you don't use them. And they shared that they almost lost $20K in available credit because they didn't use the cards after they were paid off. And then Antonio shared a question earlier about what would your advice be to college students and young adults on managing their credit cards, and how many cards would you recommend them to have?
That's a good question. I mean, before my daughter even started, she's a sophomore now, we did financial counseling and coaching sessions throughout the whole summer. I made sure we had our budget plan for all the incidentals, for food, everything, her room and board, tuition was paid for. But I was like, you need, toiletries and stuff like that. So we planned and budgeted for that for the whole semester. We did it for the next semester, then COVID hit, but we did it again for this first year, sophomore semester. So it's very important to plan ahead with the college students. I would say, credit is, you need credit, unfortunately, in America, but your student loans is going to help you build your credit. If you get a student loan, maybe one credit card would be good to use, like a small, $500 limit, for gas, those kind of things, paying off every month. And so I would not advise my clients to have, especially students and young people, have more than one credit card at this point until they get a full-time job. So, yeah, I would definitely tell them that you shouldn't have multiple. But going back to the credit, you're right. If you don't use your credit, I mean, I've had a bunch of credit cards canceled over the years from the lender, and it sucks. But if you're not using them, then they're going to cancel them or they're going to lower your limit. So I would say if you're trying to keep that card with $20,000 credit limit on there, then you need to use it, sparingly, or at least every other month, and that's going to help build your credit if you're trying to do that. And also it's going to be able to keep that open. So I have a credit card, similar situation, and I just use it for expenses like gas and so forth, and then I pay it off every month. So make sure that, again, like I said earlier, I don't believe in paying interest anymore unless it's for my business, because I can claim that. But definitely, yeah, I hope that answers the question.
And the people who have multiple credit cards, the FICO scoring system looks at different levels of credit. So having 30 credit cards versus having a mortgage, a car, and a one credit card is looked at more favorably than somebody that has. Like I was talking to somebody one time, she had 22 credit cards. I could not convince her that was a wise thing to do, but she was monitoring them to the point of obsession because she had already had something she had happen. But they're going to look at different levels of credit, like more responsible credit, I guess is what.
Yeah, different lines. Like you're right, variable, the mortgage line. Yeah,
right.
You don't want all credit, the variable open, leave a line
right.
of credit. That's because that could show your risk. Yeah, because I'm definitely, you get a mortgage and you have all those lines open. They're like, okay, what if you just max all those out and then you can't pay your mortgage? That doesn't.
Exactly.
I used to do mortgage when I worked for the credit union. I used to do mortgages and second mortgages and stuff. So yeah, when we look at that, we're like, I'm sorry, I can't give you a mortgage, because they're like, why? I'm like, because you might max out all 20 of these cards and then not be able to pay us back. So I'm sorry, that was different criteria back then. I'm sure it's changed, and that was 10, 20 years ago. But yeah, that's definitely, hopefully that answers the question. CJ, any more?
Ms. Debbie Wood commented that because of her family beliefs, especially her mom's belief in not buying what you can't afford today, it was hard for her to change her attitude toward credit.
That's true. But I think that's a good thing. I mean, you can look at it on both sides, not, if you can't afford it tomorrow, you shouldn't be buying it today, or if you can't afford it today, you can get it tomorrow. It's kind of that self-control and discipline I was talking about earlier. I think we all need that. And I think that's what people get in trouble with. It gets out of control. It's just like, I always compare it back to dieting and eating and exercise.
Don't go there.
I'm sorry, but I have to do that with my clients. They're like, oh, I'm like, yeah, it's just like the same thing. If you're not controlling what you put in your mouth and you're not exercising, you're going to blow up. I mean, so the same thing going to happen with your credit. So if you spending lavishly and you can't afford it, your credit score is going to go down. You're not going to be able to buy what you want in the future. So you got to be very careful. It's self-discipline and control, or self-control and discipline and dedication, commitment. Those things go across any goal or responsibility that you're trying to accomplish. So yeah, but I just want to, since we're getting the time, we've got a minute before, just want to thank everybody for their time. If you're ready to become financially free, please book a 30-minute clarity call. The 2 links are there, and then, or you can email us at info@crusadersforchange.org, or text the number on the screen, 240-630-2242, which is C is 2 on the number pad. And please follow us on all of the social media listed there. So any more questions?
I have plenty more questions I could ask, but I'm going to sign up for that 30-minute.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm going to sign up for that 30-minute clarity call.
Yeah.
And I've already referred some of my clients to that want financial counseling to sign up as well. So
Thank you, Vanessa.
Shay, I didn't catch that bit.ly.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Do you mind putting that, either putting it back up or putting it in the chat? And I'm putting it in the chat as well.
All right, I'll put it in the chat. I think I got some private messages too, but I couldn't see them at the time. So there it is.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, Shay, I want to thank you very much for taking time out and sharing some tips with us. Money Keys to Freedom. Definitely have learned a lot through today's session. Again, thank you. And also a big thanks to Vanessa, and thank you very much to CJ for organizing today's session as well. I believe a lot of folks will send you a request for information after our Zoom session is concluded, Shay. So we will definitely pass out your contact information to members in our networks. And so, again, I just want to thank you very much for being with us this morning. To all of our membership and members in the network, again, if you have any questions for Ms. Shay Cook, her information will be listed in the chat. And we definitely encourage you to reach out to her and get that free 30-minute session. But if you choose to use her for more in-depth financial planning services, she will work with you on pursuing and helping you get out of whatever financial predicament you may be. So again, I want to thank you very much, Shay. Thank you, Vanessa. And again, thank you very much, CJ, and thank you for everyone that has tuned in. Have a great day, and we'll be talking to you shortly. Bye.